today what I want to go over is a slightly different format than normal. I'm going to do the attacks and concepts of defense first. Then I'm going to show a common escape from that position, and then I'm going to show you a real idea about a real super easy way to get out of back as well. So today we're going to continue on from what we did yesterday, where we did some back defenses, and so we're going to take that. We're going to keep going with it. Okay. So, being in the gi, which we are as a school, there are quite a few different attacks you can do with the gi from the back. Okay. Of course, everyone knows about the rear naked choke we did yesterday to choke your opponent without the gi. But if you have the gi as a weapon, why not use it? Because there are some real easy things to do. Okay. So when you're attacking, when you're being the person on the back, you always want to try to have your chest to back, right? Like we talked about yesterday. And so that you can get ear to ear with your opponent, okay? If you're not ear to ear with your opponent, you're giving your opponent too much head movement, all right? You should be able to do this, or should be able to feel this position out by being in here tight. Now, when you're remember when you're attacking, you should always want to have the underhand over the wrist of the overhand. So this is the choking hand. So if I don't put this wrist here, if I put it like this, then this arm becomes the one they attack. And then now I got to now. But if I'm here, when their opponent starts to break open this hand position here, then I still have this hand that I can sneak up to here and actually start to lock in for the rear naked choke. But like we talked about yesterday, sometimes a good defense is actually to squeeze down on this arm. And if you squeeze down on this arm, it's going to be real hard to finish that rear naked choke. But there's two other chokes you can do from this specific position that are really, really nice to finish. And if they're defending the second half of the choke, then there's a third choke. So the first one we're going to do is a lapel choke, and this is going to be I don't know the technical name of the choke, but I would just call it the lapel choke 1. You're probably the easiest way because they're both lapel chokes. So you're in here, you're defending, you're going for the rear naked choke. Your opponent holds this arm. Or maybe they're, like really good at defending, hand fighting and stuff, and you're in here tight. So you're going to get this hand, and you're going to pull this jacket open just a little bit to get that thumb inside and actually grab onto the lapel. So now I'm grabbed onto the lapel here, okay? So once I'm here, my first option is I actually just grab the lapel across like this. So I've got the second lapel here. And I'm going to pull that straight down, and then I'm going to pull this down, and I'm going to pull this across. All right, it's kind of like a knife hand choke. So I'm going boom, boom, and I'm across. Okay, from the actual back, I'll get my hooks in so you can see how the leverage works on that. All right, so I'm here. I pulled this down. I looked like I was going for the rear naked choke. But instead, I get that thumb inside, and I'm here. Then I'm going to grab the lapel, pull that down like this, and then I'm just going to do like I would with a rear naked choke. My shoulders are going to pull, or my elbows are going to pull down, and my shoulder blades are going to come back. They're going to pinch together. And when they do that, this pulls down, and then I'm choking them. Using the lapel as one side, the back of this lapel is the other, and then my arm as the fulcrum to do the third. Okay, so again, here I'm, good, ready to attack my opponent. I reach up, and he starts to attack the hands. So I reach up to go rear naked choke. He doesn't let this hand go. So I tighten this lapel and I get my thumb inside. And ideally, when you get the thumb inside also, you want to fold the lapel over. And it gives you more grip. If you try to keep the lapel flat when you do it, you can get the grip, but it's a lot easier to get better grip if you fold the lapel over when you get the grip. A lot of those grips work best by folding the lapel. So in this case, I kind of do the same thing. I pull this down, get that thumb inside, and it's real easy to just put that thumb on the lapel, this opposite thumb, and as you're pulling it down to tighten, to get out the tension. Because if I just leave this here and I just grab here, see how loose that is? So when you want to get tension out, use the other hand, right? Use the other hand to pull. So as you pull, see how I'm pushing my thumb in there? That automatically causes the lapel to fold over. If I just was like this, sure, but if I use the thumb on the back side of the lapel, it actually creates the fold that I already want. So I come in here, grab this lapel, pull it straight down, and then boom, boom, and choke, okay? Now, sometimes your opponent has the forethought after you've gotten this to start to attack this hand. It's like, no, I don't want you to do that here. And that's fine, because off this exact same setup, there's a second choke that goes behind the head like this and does the exact same thing. Boom, chokes just like that. Now, both of those chokes work under the same principle in that you are taking space out of the lapel and then you are using leverage to choke your opponent, okay? So again, one more time. I'm going to ear to ear. I'm going to, if I feel like I'm ready or they're attacking my hand, then I'm going to swing this hand up for that rear naked choke, okay? Because it's tight already. So they go to defend by trying to keep this hand in place. So I'm going to pull this lapel down as much as I can and get that thumb inside. Then I'm going to reach over and grab here and then pull and twist. If that doesn't happen and they're fighting me real good here, I can't get this lapel here to straighten this out, then I go behind the head and I do the same thing. I push behind the head and making the bat behind the head. I feel like this isn't as big a deal. Yesterday when we talked about the rear naked choke and putting that in, like there was a time when people would put the palm forward so they could push the head forward, but it's not about the head push, it's about the shoulder pull. So you're trying to pull your shoulders back. So same thing here, but I like to make a fist if I'm going to do this one. So I'm in here, I make a fist, and I push. If you can't make a fist, you just want to use the blade of your hand, because this might be more apt to use the palm as well, just because the angle. See how high my elbow is? My elbow wants to get high to push on the head. If I'm too low, if I try to do this, my elbow has to stay low. So if I try to do back of the hand, my elbow has to stay low. And that's okay with the rear naked choke, but for the arm in one, it works better if you either use the palm of your hand or if you make a fist and make the turn. Okay? So so those are the two main chokes. Now the third choke is a fan favorite because it doesn't require much extra work in terms of lapel stuff. Okay, so this is called the bow and arrow choke. So we have lapel choke 1 from the back. We have the behind the head lapel choke. So maybe just like straight lapel choke, behind the head lapel choke, and then we got the bow and arrow choke. Okay, so the bow and arrow choke can take shape in a couple of different ways, but the entrance is always the same. So you're going for that, we're doing the same thing. I'm holding it here. He goes to the fight. I get this hand up for the rear naked choke. He goes, like he's defending real well. I can't, like it's going to be hard for me to get this hand down. So I straighten this out and I go inside the lapel. All right, that's step 1. Now step 2 is I'm going to slightly turn off by grabbing the pants and going here. Now I want to keep this elbow in tight and I'm going to pull on the pants and I'm going to stretch. Okay, now there's a couple of ways you can do this. If you're really flexible, some people can get their leg over your opponent's head with your arm inside. Like that's, can be a pretty normal position. It's a little tricky for me. So that's not the bow and arrow choke I would do. I'd probably just end up coming down like this and stretching my opponent down like that. But again, sometimes that doesn't work. So the knee on the back is also a way to go as well. So if I can get this knee even just a little bit into the back when I fall, like so, then when I push, you can see how messed up Bob is right here. And he's getting twisted and torqued and choked all sorts of different ways. And that's your a similar bow and arrow choke. Okay, so the reason why we have these different variations is mainly because not one variation is going to work the same for each person, right? You're going to attempt a variation on somebody and it's not going to work. And if it's the only variation then you could maybe switch this into like an arm bar. So if I'm here and here and I'm choking and I'm here, I could grab this arm instead and push the head down. And now I'm in an arm bar. If that's the way your opponent gives you. Doesn't mean that arm is going to stick out like that. Doesn't mean that your opponent's just going to leave that arm hanging there like that. But who knows? Maybe they could. Maybe they'll leave that arm there and you can easily transition into that arm bar. Okay. So one more time, run through your 3 options of your lapel chokes. Okay, from that back position. All right. So option number 1 is the straight lapel. So I'm defending to set up, defending, I go for my rear naked choke. He does something with his hand, can't get it. So I open this up, get my thumb inside, straight lapel choke. This comes down, shoulders go back, shoulder blades come back together, elbows. Try to touch your elbows behind your back. When you do that, you really open up your chest and create the choke across. All right. Let's say he defends this grab. So now this arm's underneath. So I'm going to go behind the head, do the same thing. All right. Just going to pull my elbows together behind my back. And third option, I get the lapel in. He knows these 2 chokes are there. So he's a little loose. And so I reach down, grab the gi, shoot off to the side, and choke. And then I've got my over the head, leg over the head, and knee behind choke as well. Okay? So I've showed you these because a lot of the defenses for the back are off of that. Okay? Especially in the gi, you can't not understand the chokes and how they work and not understand and then try to go to the defenses and not be able to defend against them because you don't understand why they work or how they work and all that stuff. All right. So the beautiful thing about the gi, and this is going to be our first, our concepts, ideas, and then our first reversal escape. Beautiful thing about the gi is that while it gives him more weapons, it also gives you more opportunity to defend. Okay. So this is a move that you wouldn't be able to do without the gi because it requires you to grab the gi. All right. So your opponent is on your back like so. And he's got his overhook and he's got his underhook. We'll worry about that in a second. Right. So thankfully in the gi, instead of just worrying about this, like them grabbing, you actually can grab too. So it's a very common defense to take the slack out of this arm by pulling it down with your 2 arms. Okay? So that doesn't make sense. Here's what that looks like. So we're here. I'm going to reach up instead of trying to attack at the hand, I'm actually just going to attack at behind the elbow. All right, so if the elbow's right here, I'm gonna grab at the elbow. I'm also gonna grab at the sleeve. I'm not gonna grab inside. I'm just gonna grab some extra material outside, and I'm gonna pull down. All right, now with it pulled down, there's no way they can choke me. Okay, I just pull it down, boom, and now they can't choke me. Even if they got a hold of my lapel, there's still space right here. Me waving underneath the arm. So I'm going to go here, and that's going to be my first one. All right. Now, let's say they do get my lapel high. Okay. Well, this is still a good way to defend. But another awesome thing you can do here, if you have the right leverage, is actually just to use this and then get this inside hand inside, and then pop the arm up and over. Right? So I use this space, I pull this down, I create space, get this hand inside, I'm holding, I'm gonna pop and bring it over, and now I'm not worried about chokes because the choking arm is on this side. All right, and this is actually useful for a few things. If you want to be technical, if you can get here, but this only really works if he anchors himself to your lapel. All right. If he keeps his hands together and doesn't anchor into your lapel, then we have a slightly different move that we're going to do. So this is especially necessary for the bow and arrow choke, because if your opponent goes for this move, goes for the bow and arrow choke, they need this arm wrapped around your neck, because part of that is moving outside this way. So you need to clear this as quickly as possible, even if it means, pulling it down, like I said, and then once you pull it down, get inside, try to get that up and over. If you can even just get to here, it's just on my head. This will be enough. This will be enough to keep choking, as long as you just keep this here so he doesn't slide it back down. This will be enough. You're here and you're here, and then this is enough. Okay? So there's another, so that's the basic idea here. Your opponent gets this here, gets this lapel here. You want to try to create space and then try to get your head out, because you cannot get your hand off of this lapel. All right? It works if you're facing your opponent, but not if your opponent's behind you. There's almost no way that you'd be able to get this hand off of this lapel, and while you're fighting for this one, he's figuring out a way to choke you. So you can't worry about this. You got to take away the choking opportunity, which means, once again, we're here. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to pull it down. I'm going to get this hand inside, and I'm going to start to put my hand up on my head and kind of comb my hair to push it over. I've combed my hair to push it over. Now I can actually hold this, and there are a couple things I can do here that are pretty neat. If I'm on this side, right? If I'm on this side and I'm holding this hand, I can actually escape one of the legs. It's pretty easy to straighten a foot out, or even use the other foot to kind of push the other foot off. And I can get out and come out onto this side. So as I come out, I keep my arm over on this side, and there we go. Now I'm in side control from mount. That's one possibility, okay? And that, again, it's something that you have to play with, but it's a very basic, just simple little move you saw me do right there. Just move my hips out of the way, and I can scoot them around. And so, again, got his feet here. He goes to choke. I go no. So I reach up, grab a bit of lapel or a bit of sleeve here, a bit of sleeve here, and I pull that down, right? And I hold it here. Okay. I can hold this because my lats are strong. If you have most people should have at least somewhat strong back muscle. So it's not necessarily a feat of strength, but it is also a feat of working your muscles working correctly for the move. And the move requires you to pull your elbow down like this, right? If your elbow's in tight and someone tries to pull you, they're not going to pull your elbow away from your hand. They'll probably pull your body before they pull your elbow away from your hand. But if I'm out here like this and I try to pull with them, it's going to be much more of a struggle. So similarly, and that's true for a lot of jiu-jitsu moves. If you watched any of the guard stuff I did, a lot of it requires you to get in close to your opponent so you can take out all that space and then make your move off of that. So this is one of those situations as well, where your space is, you have space, so you need to use it, all right? So again, I'm here, I pull, this elbow stays down to hold in place. This hand comes in the space, and I go to comb my hair across, okay? And I'm gonna hold here. I'm gonna hold here till I can get this down. And once I can get this off me, and I start to get my butt out, and I drive, and I get my hand inside, now I'm good, all right? Now, if I don't watch out, I could maybe get here, which is a crucifix, and we don't want that. So you always want to keep this hand on the outside. Even if they do something weird with this arm, that's okay, because even if I'm here, I can still turn into them and get out of it. So if they try to hold this arm for some reason or try to attack this arm for some reason, I can always get my butt down and then start to spin into them like this. So don't worry about that, okay? If you get this leg attack against this arm, then you have something to worry about. But don't worry about it if they're just got this arm, because there isn't anything here, okay? Not anything that you don't have good leverage for. All right, so that's one way to deal with the choke. Now, another thing you can do is if your opponent, this is your second, so that's your first kind of escape. Your second escape is actually going to go out the other side. So again, that probably either works best if your opponent's on his back, because that's, like we get those situations on our back where we're over here, where we're flat on our backs. So if your opponent's flat on it, if you posted correctly and your opponent's flat on his back, right? Or you're on the opposite arm, this one over here, the non-choking arm is on the bottom. Remember, we want the choke correctly. We want the choking arm on top or on bottom, except for lapel chokes. So it's so there's all these little things you gotta start to remember, especially if someone's attacking you from the back. That on lapel chokes, the choking arm works best in the top. And the rear naked choke, the choking arm works best on the bottom. So again, if your opponent has his hands together and he's trying to hold you, you're being real good about pulling this together. So this is a situation, a slightly different situation where your opponent's actually not got your lapel in the moment. Okay, so they don't grab your lapel, they just got over under and they're holding on to you, right? So you're gonna pull on this like this, and most likely they're not going to. They're still gonna be tight. So trying to find this hold is gonna be a little harder. But the choke isn't there, and they can't come up for the rear naked choke, and they can't come up for the lapel choke because you've already taken out all the slack in their arm. So before they've even grabbed anything or reached for anything, you just right here like this. All right, so we're here. All right, that's step one. Now step two is going to be to drop, to get this out here. So I'm actually going to drop the same side this time. Remember last time it was the opposite side, to get this out. And once I start to go, now I reach up and I grab the back of the gi here like this, right? Hopefully you can see that because I know his head's kind of away. But I grab the back of the gi here like this, and then I pull this arm, I pull the gi, and I start to come over till I'm in my position. And then I come up, okay? I'll show that from the other direction so you can see what that looks like. From the other side. Okay? So he's got my back. He's hasn't grabbed my lapel yet. He hasn't got his hand in the place for rear naked choke. So I immediately reach up and I grab the two, the lapel and the arm here. Now, remember, if you think about the progression of moves, right? So the two that I showed yesterday, one is the positions starting to go bad and you're on the opposite choking side. The other one is the hand fights still going on, so you can still defend before they actually get the full capturing on, so you butt scoot down. All right. These are if your opponent gets everything in, stays real tight, and you don't have they don't have the lapel, or they do. Remember the other ones that they do. So they don't have the lapel. Again, you're going to grab up high. You're going to pull down. All right. This is to keep them from grabbing the lapel, keep them from the choke. And once I'm here like this, I'm going to drop the same side leg this time, and I'm going to reach up, or I'm going to start to pass that side. I'm going to reach up and I'm going to grab the lapel, so you can't see this, but just take my word for it. And I'm just going to step over like this. And then once I'm here, then I can reach and grab the lapel and come underneath. And I actually have the potential for sort of an improvised choke right there. Super easy, one underneath, and then like a one across. There is something there, I just can't remember off the top of my head, with the under, like that. I think that's it. I think that's because you're underneath here like this, and yeah. I haven't gone over that choke, I don't think, with you guys or necessarily in my. It's one of those advanced chokes, but yeah, it's there. It's there. You know how to potentially set it up when you come up from there. Okay. So let's see. Is there another? Maybe just straight on. Maybe I'll do a straight on demonstration for you guys, so you can see what it looks like straight on. In case there's any angle that you want to see it from. Behind is probably not the best angle, but in front can be. Okay, so here and here, so over here. All right, so I'm going to pull, taking the slack out, drop the same side leg to get my butt out. Then I'm going to reach for that lapel just like this. And I'll start to go. Once I start to go, grab across, and now I'm ready to. I'm back on side control, and I can go for my own attacks from there. Okay. It's part of my philosophy that there are certain positions that are more. I mean, the back is almost an intermediate position in my opinion. There's some positions that I consider intermediate because you don't always just naturally end up there. You can jump on somebody's back, and if you do that, you usually have already begun to choke them out. So, so that's if you want to consider that natural, you can. But in relationship to how you get to the back, it's usually something that your opponent will give you. Okay, and sometimes you have to take it. Like sometimes, so next week we're actually going to go over the turtle position. I know it's only Tuesday, but next week we're going to go over the turtle position, and we're going to show different ways on how you do that. But like because of that, you can see right here that no matter which way I get out of this position, whether it be the butt scoot or the arm turnover or the other arm flip over this way that I just showed, or even just the safe haven out to the side and doing the leg and the arm things correctly like we did yesterday. The guy who has his back taken always ends up in a better position, right? And it's not because he's not in a better position. it's because he actually has gravity to help him with the situation, right? And that's one of the things that when there's certain submissions that you go for, specifically your triangle choke, your arm bar, and your back attacks that are all very aggressive. They have lots of different options for modifications, but they're also, if you get out, if your opponent gets out of them, if you don't give up on them before your opponent gets out of them, you get in a worse position than you were before. So that's why I consider back sort of an intermediate position. But you still, like I said, most general positions you should need to know, and the back is probably the most general position that you can go to or get to and learn from. Okay. So there's one other thing that I want to show you guys that's super, super simple, and it can happen. It happens quite more often than you would think, because it happens when your opponent doesn't have full control of your back. Like if he doesn't have good chest-to-chest connection with your back, it's all it is a simple roll or a simple spin in place. Okay, it doesn't leave you in guard instead of in half guard or side control or whatever whatever we've ended up in with these moves. But it is a super simple way to get out of this if you don't have good pressure. Okay, and it's like here, I'll show you. It's just like this. So my opponent has me like this, right? And he has, he's trying to get my back, right? So I push up into him, okay? And now I'm here, right? I'm up on my toes, and I'm defending. He doesn't have anything. I'm just pressing into him. He thinks, okay, life is good. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to sit up, right? Now I'm just going to bring this arm inside and turn like this. It's a little, it's not as easy as all that, obviously, because getting your arm in the right place. But if you sit forward on your opponent, then you should be able to do this. You should be able to sit up, especially if you sit up high enough, and now just turn. And now you're on top of your opponent, right? Some people will do this, and they'll get to where their elbow's inside, right? So you still have your feet around me, and your elbow's inside. Now all I have to do is sort of shift until I get my elbow down. And once my elbow's down, then I'm in guard, again. So I go boom, 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 I'm here, and I get back up to guard. Is that safe? It can be risky. It can be a little risky. And but it can be easy if you get your arms up high enough. So if you get your arms up high enough, but if you get your arms too low, it might be a little risky. Okay, mainly because if I'm in guard, I don't want my hand on the mat for any extended period of time, because there's Kimuras right there, there's sweeps right there, and I'm back where I was, and it's no good, right? So what I want to do is I actually want to try to go, like I said, I want to try to go high with this hand. So as I sit up, right, I'm going to go high with this hand, like this. That way I can frame off my opponent. All right, so let me just show you. Even if this one gets low, right? So I'm here. He's got his legs wrapped around me. I press back, right? I'm here. I'm defending, keeping him from getting his hands together, maybe. Boom, boom, or I'm pushing him up or whatever. And then I'm going to push, and I'm going to sit up, and then I'm going to flip, just like that. But I got to do it. Obviously, I got to do it all at the same time. I don't want to just like pause for a second, because if I pause, then they can sit up. And that's the thing, see, is that you're putting pressure on them, so them being able to sit up is hard, right? Or harder, anyway. And so if you can block, push back in, and then sit back up, that's a little reactionary. You want to make them think for a minute, all right? So again, I'll show that one more time. And like I said, It's not the best move in the world, but it definitely works in situations where they don't have control up here, right? They've started to try to like grab your arms, try to get underneath, grab whatever, and you've slowly just kept them tight, pushed it up, trying to keep them from grabbing things, trying to keep them from doing anything like that. And instead of sliding from left to right, you drive, push, and now you're here, right? Just like that. Now you might be thinking, well, what if they have their feet crossed? It's a good question. What if they have their feet crossed? Because having the feet crossed, they definitely could squeeze me a lot harder, and it would be difficult for me to spin. Well, there's this really common, I would say, it's more like you don't do it. Well, I take that back. You can do it, but you need to know that the opportunity for ankle attacks is there, one specific ankle attack. And I'm going to wait till tomorrow to show you that, because there's a whole slew of fun things you can do with your opponent's feet if they don't react correctly when somebody's on your back. So I can think of like about 4 things you can do to people's lower body in this scenario. So tomorrow, that's what we'll go over. So thank you for coming. I appreciate you guys. Hope you learned something. Hope you took something away from today. And like I said, tomorrow we'll do a fun leg attack part. Okay. See you guys. Bye guys.